This is the MXtoday Podcast here on MotoOnline.com, catching up on the 2026 Monster Energy Supercross Championship. I am Alex Gobert. Joining me today, Nick Steele. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, Alex. It's the Western swing. It's over, and it's time to head east. It's time to head to those cold stadiums, the one we talk about so much. Looking forward to it.
It is. We're at that point of the year where January's done, February is rapidly passing by, and also at this point of the year, the big thing is the opening round of 250 SX East is coming up this weekend in Arlington. So we'll get to that shortly. We'll preview all that is to come in that. But the first question, Nick, what can we take away from the opening 6 rounds? 450 SX has been wild, which we will, not wild in the sense of chaos, more so in terms of being unpredictable each and every weekend. What are your takeaways so far?
My takeaway starting, with that 450 class is Eli Tomac and Red Bull KTM, they are for real. It has been impressive with that team. Just that team in general, with all 3 of their riders have come out fantastic. Yes, Jorge Prado, we'll get to him very, very soon. But for Eli Tomac, he is for real. He is going to be a title contender all the way down to the end. Ken Roczen, another great start to a championship for him. Will the only thing stopping Ken Roczen from a championship be an electric start? We'll probably get to that soon as well, Alex. Hunter Lawrence, he's as good as expected. And sure enough, Cooper Webb, we may have counted him out, and he is just dogfighting his way back into this thing. So many different storylines in 450, but I really got to go with Tomac, and that move to Red Bull KTM, I think in my head is probably one of the smoothest transitions I've seen probably ever, right?
Better than expected when you consider that we are, 6 rounds. Eli has won 3 of those main events to date, but he doesn't hold the red plate, Nick. As you mentioned, Hunter Lawrence, who in turn doesn't have a main event win in the Premier class just yet. Consistency from Hunter is paying off as we speak, but the wins count. And I think that's what we've seen. I think that's what you're getting at with Eli Tomac. The opportunity to win on any given night. Not only that, he's been qualifying well, consistently. So the speed's there. The starts have been consistently on point. Just a couple of, costly errors at different points of the season outside of his wins. They're the ones that are kind of catching up with him as well at this point. So, and also, as you said, then you have Cooper Webb, who started the season not so well, but main event winner already, podium finisher, consistency building. The Cooper Webb that we are so accustomed to seeing is really beginning to rise and put up a fight.
Yeah, absolutely. For Cooper Webb, it's, he said it himself, it was nearly the nail in the coffin for him in his championship only a matter of weeks ago. But the success he's had of constantly being on the podium each weekend and a little bit of weirdo stuff happening has really, gained himself back into this championship. And these guys need to be careful. Any more weirdo stuff, he's just going to keep clicking away points, ticking away points, and we're going to find ourselves at the midway of the championship, and he's only going to be a couple points out. Eli, like we mentioned, 2 weird little crashes for him, like uncharacteristic crashes for Eli Tomac, I think we call it. He did go a handful of points down, now only 1 point out of the championship. But for me, and I really want to get your take on this with Hunter Lawrence, just going back to him, does he need to get this win before it starts getting weird? And I say that in the fact of, okay, I can't keep getting second. I'm leading. this is the nerves, the pressure's got to get him to go and get this thing done, to get that win. Does it start getting weird for the 96?
Well, he had, fourth at Anaheim 1. He went second 4 weekends in a row. Seattle on the weekend just gone fourth again following, that the incident there with Ken while fighting for the podium late in the race. The consistency's there, but the pressure to put himself in a position to win a main event in Supercross in the Premier Class. We saw Hunter win one of the Triple Crown races there in Glendale or Houston. So on the flip side of that, you think back to Webb, who won was credited the winner there in Houston, but he didn't actually win one of the races. So I don't know. It's what all of this is doing? It's compressing the title race before our very eyes. When you look at Hunter has the red plate still just by a single point now over Eli, 124 to 123, but only 10 points back from Eli is both Ken and Coop. So there's an 11-point difference between that top four? Not much, but the main thing is, and I think the important stat, in terms of analytics, is the very fact that Eli has 50% of the wins this year. I just can't look past that.
Yeah, we can't look past that. And if we look in the past and we look in previous experiences, Eli leaves Californian swing with a points deficit. He spends the next 4 to 5 rounds trying to make that back up. He's in a point now where he's 1 point out of the lead. He looks fantastic on the motorcycle. He has the wins there. And we're going to these areas where he favorably does well. We saw that in Seattle. The track was rough. It was rutted. And Eli came alive. If I'm the rest of this field and I'm heading east and I know these tracks are doing it, I'm concerned. I'm concerned Eli goes on a run here.
It's been one of them, one of those years where you mentioned it off the record is the point that Jet Lawrence, as we knew before Anaheim 1, the point that Jet Lawrence isn't lining up at this stage, it really opened the door for a different group of riders to not only contend for the championship, but genuinely believe that they can be champion. And the opportunity, I think is really evident that these guys are trying to rise to the occasion week in, week out, but it's just not that simple. And almost when you factor in as well, Nick, you consider, okay, there was the 2 Anaheims, there was San Diego, Houston came up, as round 4, then back to Glendale, then back to Seattle, where weather and the Super Bowl celebrations and all these different kind of elements came into play. I feel like it's almost been, while the series to this point has gone relatively fast, there's almost been these little underlying, unknowns along the way. There's not a clear storyline, a definitive, expectation to say, okay, this person is the guy.
If you had to pinpoint that to someone with what we know, where are you going with it?
Well, that's the thing. Eli, obviously, with the wins. But you spoke of the weirdo stuff. The crash in Houston, being caught up in Glendale and what appeared to be an injury or some kind. Eli was obviously able to overcome that. And, in Houston, he kind of not got lucky, but it was fortunate that it was the Triple Crown format, so it didn't affect him too badly. being fourth there. And then the 12th in Glendale could have been a lot worse. But again, you can't afford too many of those nights, too many of those mistakes before they bite you. And I think that's the thing is, can we see Eli, not only continue to win, but just, I don't know, dial in that consistency that little bit more?
Yeah, I get it. And, like you said, you can't have those off nights like he's had. And speaking in the past, he often doesn't have them that often, if at all. So if he's got those out of the way, where those weirdo crashes happen, then I think that's fine for him. But when it is as tight as this is, and like you've said, that 11 points throughout that top four, they can't give up mistakes to each other. It can't happen. And that's where we really seen, I think, with Ken Roxon on the weekend. And yes, Hunter Lawrence got up quite quickly, got to the finish line, but that electric start issue, that could be the thing that stops Ken Roxon from winning a championship. That could be it. As simple as long as it takes him to get back up and get running. It's things like that separate it.
So if you had to choose then, if you had to underscore your, early title challenges, the ones that you can really see going the distance, who do you circle? I'm saying Eli and Coop at this point. And I feel like that's almost not disrespectful to Hunter, but because the fact is he has the red plate. But I think it's just experience almost comes into play to an extent. Hunter doesn't have that experience, and Ken, in the past, for all sorts of reasons, just hasn't necessarily been able to go all the way. Who will be there at round 14, 15, 16 into Salt Lake?
Well, you can 100% expect both those names, Eli Tomac, Cooper Webb. If I had to set up a power ranking right now, I think I'm going to go the same as you. I stick with Eli Tomac, Cooper Webb, Hunter Lawrence, and then I'd probably put Ken Roxon followed by Chase Sexton with that. That's where I would run the power rankings right now with what we have. But that question of who do we expect to be there from round 14 onwards when we find ourselves in Salt Lake City, you have to go it. You have to go with Cooper Webb and Eli Tomac. It's just the common knowledge from what we can expect.
And history tells as well, Nick, the person with 3 championships, the defending champion in Cooper Webb, he's on the 25 YZ450F chassis, got the latest engine, the motor spec from what we understand. So when you look back to Anaheim 1 and then San Diego, I think the promise was evident early on from Coop, even if the results on paper weren't there. That 5th at Anaheim 2, we all remember, right? The post-race interview, the I guess position he was in at that point. Since then, he's been able to turn it around. We've had the glimpses. We've had the consistent first, third, second podium positions. It's trending in the right direction for Cooper Webb. And I don't think, when I think back to the opening parts of the series, that wasn't a guarantee, but here he is.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we will remember those photos of Cooper Webb sitting trackside after Anaheim 2, and he just looked broken. And I feel like if you are that class, you want to be worried about that, because Cooper Webb figures things out. He does. He has. And like I said, he's going to be one of those guys that when this championship heads east, it's where he comes alive. It's where the magic happens for Cooper Webb, and he's just as gritty as a dog. He just finds a way and gets it done. And you're going up against that. That's something to be concerned about, especially when someone like Cooper that loves having their back up against the wall, it's when they perform.
Outside of those guys, and we'll get into Chase separately here as well shortly, but Jorge Prado, is that he's not necessarily there in the points after what happened on the weekend in Seattle and not being able to finish out the night program, but he has been one of the absolute stories of this season. To me, it's insane what he's been able to do.
The pace has been blistering. We can see that from qualifying. They've had the heat race wins there as well. Being on the podium, there has been a lot of success early with Jorge Prado. I just don't get it. It's how big of a difference can we have between Monster Energy Kawasaki and Red Bull KTM with performance? Is it he's just comfortable there? I just don't get it.
This is the Prado that I think Monster Energy Kawasaki thought they were putting on a 3-year contract 12 months back. This is the guy.
Well, hopefully the Chase Sexton they thought they were putting on there also wasn't the Chase Sexton from 12 months ago. Otherwise, they got problems. So it's funny, like when you watch Prado, the results speak for themselves. But when you watch him, he is as legitimate of a Supercross rider, at least in these early days, as what anybody in MXGP, making the transition to America, going straight to the Premier class, mind you, that's another element of this. Everything about him, aside from the mistake on the weekend, I think he's a genuinely solid, impressive Supercross rider. And that, I even think, aside from last year, considering he went out so early in the season, take away the need for bike changes, take away the need for the team change, take away everything else. It's experience that he doesn't have, but somehow he's been able to almost, fast track, I guess, his development. I don't know if the comfort's all the way there. Mistakes like the weekend, they'll catch up with you. But I think it's just his Supercross craft, right? That's what he's shaping. That's what he's polishing.
Is his craft.
Yeah, and it's, a track's going to claim you regardless. It's going to happen. We've seen that with Prado. And we don't know when we see him back, but we will see him back in Supercross, so that's something, right?
Yeah, the word was scans this week, potential AC separation, shoulder damage, not really sure, but yeah, that was the concern, because that's what, obviously put him out last year for Supercross. So hopefully, regardless of this year, because he does sit, 10th in points, hopefully he's just back and in a position to keep doing laps, keep getting, the repetitions in and get himself in a position. Has there been anybody else that stands out? And again, the Chase topic is coming. Here's mine.
Joey
Savacci.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Quadlock Honda's Joey Savacci. Incredible. What a great start to a championship. Yeah. What a great start to a championship for Joey Savacci. There's nothing more to say about that than he's ticking boxes, making gains, and he's delivering for Yariv Konski's team.
He says the goal is 5 to 8. So A1 was kind of rough, 13th. Since then, he's gone 5, 6, 14, 6, 8. And he's had some dramas along the way, had the toe injury and whatnot, but not only is Joey Savacci proving his worth, he's consistently factoring in. Again, heat races, he's been there or thereabouts. And yeah, this is the best version of Joey Savacci that we have seen in 450SX for some time.
Yeah, probably since his rookie year with Monster Cowie, right? This has been, incredible for him. He's ticking boxes, and he's making it hard for his two other teammates there at Quad Lock Honda, that's for sure. It's been a rough run for that team so far.
Yeah, it has Shane McElrath just not finding form. Christian, Craig, Nick, the 28, fractured fingers on the weekend in Seattle.
I tried to call in a homicide, actually.
Not going well, but I just keep thinking back to World Supercross and very different conditions, different pressure, all of the above. It's in there somewhere, Nick. Christian has it in him. It's just not happening for whatever reason.
Okay, then you may as well go back. Let's think about Paris when Mookie bet Jet and Hunter. Let's go to that as well. It's in there. It's got to be in there, right?
Other ones to me that stand out early, I think the Dylan Ferrandis consistency on the Ducati, what he's been doing 4 times, Nick, he's finished 9th. The other times he was 11th and 10th. So he's in the window of consistency for Dylan, and that's what I think the Desmo and the team around him needs, especially with Justin Barsha still on the sidelines. But to me, I think that's probably exceeded expectations in some ways. Just, the consistency side.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for that team as well, everything's been great for that team so far. Part Justin Barsha and, Anaheim won there. But for Ferrandis, I think he's doing absolutely everything right for that brand at the moment, and then it's going to keep logging laps as this thing continues. So I think you've got to give that a tick, right? If we're looking back and rating it, you'd give it a tick.
You mentioned
Peter, on the other hand, no.
you mentioned Mookie. He's overcome that the shoulder injury from scapular injury from A1, season best in Seattle. So slowly on the improve. Alongside him, RJ Hampshire. He had that injury in the he was sick in Glendale, so couldn't race there. Had the injury when he got back on the bike, a bit of a weird foot injury while at the Baker's factory. So we don't know when we'll see RJ back. But, not going smooth for him either. It's sort of a game where you look at the guys at the front and you almost underestimate, all the way to Savachi, you almost underestimate what an achievement, how difficult it is to do what they're doing on any given weekend. Even Dylan, because there are guys like RJ, Marchbanks, the inexperienced guys, even McElrath when you think of more experience. But there's guys there putting everything into it, doing all the right things, even AP, and it's just not producing the results that they probably want. You can add Colt Nichols to that caliber of rider. The depth speaks for itself almost through the entire top 20.
The complete 450 main event, right? All those riders, I think, circles of that. And it doesn't matter if it's through the week, on the weekend. Exactly what you just said. There's no argument to that at all.
He's our guy, Chase Sexton. I said we would get to him. What's going on?
I'm just searching for the panic button here. Hang on. Not good. The red flag, I feel, should have been after the first round. We turn up with a motorcycle with everything different. That there's the red flag.
We should have known.
We should have known at that point. We were. What's the word? I feel like the win was hollow. We thought, okay, we could be right. We so were not right. Dan Fahey and Theo Lockwood have not slept in about 3 weeks. Things are not well at the Monster Energy Kawasaki camp. Not well.
Because it all seemed leading into the season, it seemed like the preseason was smooth, as positive as it could have been. Anaheim won. It was okay. Not great. Definitely not great. 8th wasn't the result he wanted. But then when we got to San Diego, from that point, and the bike started changing and we saw the pro circuit input and Levi Kitchen settings and just typical Chase Sexton moves, could we say? The confusion was kind of, the question mark was there. And then when we got to Anaheim 2, and at that point, they didn't revert back to factory components, but they'd almost mirrored in some senses what the PC parts were. So while the bike was different between San Diego to Anaheim 2, it wasn't, it was still in that same direction.
Yep.
And then he goes out and wins a special night, wearing the gear in relation to the Andy Irons Foundation and his family there, and a real fairy tale result in that form. And you just assumed at that point, wrongly, that all was on track. This is a former champion back to his best. But since then, it's been anything but. And not that the results have been, outright terrible. He's gone 5-7-5 over the course of the last 3 weekends. It's just the flashes of speed that Chase Sexton is known for is, that is his play. It's not there.
Yeah. It's everything. It's the start. It's the qualifying. It's the whole lot. It's not there. It's getting to a point where they need to get control of this before we head east and too far east, because we are just going to reinvent the wheel. And it is going to be a long 3 years with that team. And I don't think they have the time to do damage control. After Prado and the way that went down, they needed a fresh slate with results straight up. And that has not happened. Be that Chase's fault, be that the team fault, I don't really care. But that needs to improve. And if there's one thing for sure, Chase Sexton will tuck the front. Doesn't matter. He'll tuck the front.
Even at A2, the mistakes were still there until the point that it counted. So it's not when... Yeah, it's not if it's going to happen. It's almost when. And, yeah, the mistakes are still there. But now the speed isn't necessarily there. So I think that's the confusing point. And the other one to add to that, Nick, it can change on any given weekend, but will it stay? That is, to me, is the question.
Well, I think we need to see consecutive weekends of it now. If we go back to Anaheim 2, we can feel like a result can be there, but in somewhat hollow maybe compared to it. I think we need to see consecutive weekends where this thing improves, where we see him on the podium, where we see him fastest qualifier. There needs to be a lot of things to put this thing together, and it needs to happen quick, because that's the championship's already out of reach. It's gone.
You're there. You're thinking it's done.
It's done. Yep.
So he's 106 to 124. Not too bad.
15's the sweet spot.
All right. We're back to that.
I'm sorry. I'm out. That's for Chase Sexton. If you come back from that, Kawasaki is, I don't know, they've hired a unicorn or something.
Well, you think back to the emotion there at A2, the team and the work they've put in. I think when that result came, it was almost like the confessions almost started coming as, this hasn't been easy. And maybe we should have
read into that. This hasn't been easy. And it's got worse. So can Chase turn it around?
So good, Nick. Chase Sexton on that KX 450.
Yeah, Hawaii, he would look like he was flying shock. Pro riders put up videos of themselves looking good. Who'd have known?
But
who'd have known?
We know you're a Christian Craig guy. We know you're a Kawasaki guy. You've laid it all out on the table. So as a resident KX fan, do you like having Chase Sexton on your team?
No, we're damaged at the moment. And the Marchbanks deal was stupid. That shouldn't have happened. We are a damaged brand right now. There's only one man that can save us.
Continue.
Villapoto. Someone called Villo.
I don't know. This is one that we're going to obviously have to monitor more closely as the season continues. But yeah, super tough. We haven't mentioned Justin Cooper, who was on the podium for the first time this season in Seattle. Very excited up there, by the way.
Don't get much out of
pleased.
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't get much out of
Jason
Cooper.
Anderson. He's back home. He's back on the Suzuki. The season started, I think, in positive fashion, but realistically, from that point, those dips, the couple of 11th, the 12th last weekend, just just things happening, Nick. So
rolling around
more to come from him.
Rolling around the start straight with Christian Craig will do it, though. That's pretty. I can think of some negative ways to start my main event, and that's probably near the top.
It is, yeah. It's but yeah, the depth is everything in the Premier class right now, and yeah, Arlington this weekend, they are going east, and before we head into that though, I wanted to speak 250SX West, the Western Division. I mentioned the 450 class has been wild just for the unpredictable nature. The 250 class has been an all Hayden Deegan show. 5 wins in a row since Anaheim, since San Diego, sorry. And I think the big one is the race we've all been waiting for, the head-to-head matchup with Levi Kitchen in Seattle, in Washington, in the 47's home. That was a good way to end this West Coast swing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was probably the most anticipated moment so far for 250 West, was that head-to-head duel between the 47 and the number one of Hayden Deegan there. I think the way it happened as well, Alex, is really important. Deegan was out in front. Levi did try and make a pass, got caught up a little bit, had to fight back and then track Hayden down. I think there's a lot to take out of that. But for those two guys, there's no love lost. This thing is just going to keep heating up between them in the future to come. But I think as for fans watching it, that's going to be a memorable race. That was pretty awesome. Look, I'm all there for hard racing and stuff like that. Sometimes the tactics, I'm like, okay, what are we doing? But hey, sure, it was good to see. I really think to Levi Kitchen and the season he's had so far, where the first 3 rounds he finds himself picking himself up off the ground in the first corner, is a case of what could have been, because he's just as fast as Hayden Deegan when he wants to be. The raw speed, I think Deegan's got him there, but we really could have had a championship fight and a lot more on, but we were, sort of robbed of that with the 47 on down on the opening lap 3 times in a row.
And, the Kitchen we've seen in the last 3 races, second on the podium now 3 times in a row, kind of built to this position that he's in. We knew how fast he was from Anaheim 1. You could see that he had speed on his side there from the very start. But as you said, just bringing it together, the racecraft. I think what made that race on the weekend there at Lumen Field was, while it was happening live, it was almost difficult to judge, like, okay, is this okay? Are we all right with what we're seeing? Is Deegs taking it too far? What is he going to do? What happens next? I think when you think back to Vegas and the SMX final, that was potentially a concern. You think back to St. Louis last year when Levi and Hayden had that contact that, Deegs still says it cost him the $500K. It was kind of to set up this race that we didn't really know where it would go. But in the end, I think Deegs did what he had to do to win. He didn't overstep the mark, but it was almost that classic old dogfight for the win. And it seemed at times like Levi genuinely did have the upper hand to go on and win that race, but Hayden executed better. In the end, I think what made that race count was the respect, and I guess those both guys being so stoked after the checkered flag on the podium into the scrum. I think that's what made that race what it was.
Yeah, it does, and I feel like was probably short-lived at the time. We would have seen Hayden Deegan's video today. The rivalry is still there between those 2 guys. When you speak about the dogfight, like, I'm not really there for it. Whatever. Like, I'm going to use this as an example. When you see Ken Roxon and Eli Tomac battle together, it is the most respectful racing between the 2, and it's incredible. It's not a dogfight. They don't touch each other. They don't make it dangerous for each other. That's the racing I'm there for, these dogfights where either you're going to pass or you're going to put you on the ground or going to slow it. No, I'm not there for it. I'm sorry. It's probably going to be something where people I don't get that, but that's just the racing I look for. It really is.
Yeah.
What was going to happen next? That was the question.
Sir, I've watched your tactics on NASCAR, the game.
There's nothing I do on NASCAR that you can't do.
All right. But I think what it was, if Hayden rode that race, and yes, he probably has the potential to reset and, click another gear. That race, when Levi tracked him down, had the momentum, there was every chance in a normal race that he just goes on by and rides away and wins that main event. But what Hayden did in that situation almost broke that momentum, and it probably will for races to come. That's
Lappers
the
do that. Lappers do that.
Yeah, that's the thing that I think, when I look at it, comes into play, comes into question. And that's the thing. You look at it and you're like, there's plenty that say the sport's gone soft, and there's plenty that say this has gone, too far. Very difficult to get that balance right.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm not there for takeouts and things like that. It's just the dogfights are just going for laps and laps and laps. Like, just, yeah, I don't know. I'm not necessarily all there for it. I'm a big advocate of Las Vegas Motor Speedway last year was too far. So, yeah, if you don't agree, we'll agree to disagree.
No, I'm with you, sir. I'm with you.
Thank you. Okay,
But yeah, in the end, though, I think that race was the one we were all waiting for. It could have gone either way, but I think the reaction post-race made everybody feel good about what we just witnessed. So we'll see. Moving on, Eastern Division opening round this weekend. The big news is Joe Shimoda is back from his preseason injury. Upper back, lower neck surgery that he had. So, for one, it's good to see Joe Shimoda being able to line up, especially when you consider the misfortune that we've seen of Jet Lawrence, of that entire team realistically this year outside of Hunter Lawrence. To see Joe make it back in time for the East Coast opener, I think that's a real positive. And when you look at it on paper, Nick, there really is an assortment of riders who, they're going to be ready to go. Anaheim 1 feels like so long ago. We're at round 7 of Supercross. These guys are ready. This is their time.
Yeah, there's a lot to look forward to, like that Eastern Region Championship starting this weekend. And then really, Alex, it's not too far till round 10, where we get to see the first of our East-West showdowns. But when you're talking about title contenders for this class, for me, there's two names that come to the top of my head, and that is Cole Davies and Seth Hammaker. That is the title fight that I'm looking for. Great to see Joe Shimoda back. One would think, Alex, it is going to be a slow start for him. Don't know how much time he's had on the bike. I haven't really looked into that, but I'm going to imagine it's probably going to be a bit of a slow start. His championships usually are to begin with as well. So I'm glad just to see Joe back and have another one of those riders on the field. But that fight I'm looking forward to, it's Cole Davies, it's Seth Hammaker. I think that's going to be two names to watch for the next few weeks.
And almost a sense of a few unknowns as well when you look across the board at some of these teams and you consider some of the injuries, over recent years, the ones that come to mind and the ones that I consider, that I look forward to seeing as well is what can Nate Thrasher do? Can he bring consistency into play? What does Pierce Brown do there at Monster Energy Star Racing or at Monster Energy Yamaha Star Racing? What can he do at this point of his career? Jalik Swoll back with Triumph Factory Racing once again. We're hearing Austin Faulkner is going to stay in the 450 class. So that will be kind of one to keep in mind. And then there's the Husqvarna riders as well, Nick. Casey Cochran, Daxton Bennick, who's obviously switched from Star over the course of the off-season. Just a real mix of, known quantities when you bring into play Seth and Cole. But then these other riders who you just don't really know what to expect.
Well, when you look at Pierce Brown, he can perform the same as Nate Thrasher. When he is on, he is on. He can be a race winner. Same as Pierce Brown. It's what version of them do we get and that consistency throughout the rounds they do have. It is a shorter championship for the 250 class. You have to be on every weekend. The same thing like for Casey Cochran as well. I'm excited to watch him and see where that ranks up. That's one for me for sure. And then when you talk about your Jalik Swolls, man, Jalik just needs to finish. It's simple as that. If he comes last every weekend, I don't care. He just needs to finish and get a championship under his belt without injury. The importance in that it's incredible. As for the Austin Faulkner thing, I think that's the craziest move ever. But hey, they've obviously got their idea behind it, Alex. But it's a little odd for me.
Yeah, it kind of makes you question then, when will we see Jordan Smith back from injury? Is he not quite ready? Obviously, Austin himself has been on the sidelines this past weekend anyway. But, yeah, that's sort of how it's shaping up at this point. But you have to look at a rider like Seth Hammaker and, him able to take that title down to, the wire last year. So close. And I think the belief on his side has to be building each and every year as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the belief is there already for him because of the way it went down last year. I don't think you need much more motivation than thinking back to Salt Lake City in 2025. I don't think there's much more you need to get from that. And then as well, it's that point to prove to be that guy to deliver for Mitch Payton's team. That is something in itself for that. And then as well, I don't know, do you think Seth Hammaker has that almost clause in his contract as well, the same as Levi Kitchen? You win that championship and you get that 450 seat. Do you see that being the same for him, or do you see him having to go defend? Like, does this play in their heads, you think?
Yeah, well, that's the thing is when you think of Garrett Marchbanks on that kind of, that one-off, year, the opportunity to make it count, I think in everyone's mind, it just naturally lends itself to, okay, well, Levi Kitchen is there in line. But as you say, what if Hammaker can come out? What if he goes and, wins a lot of races, wins this championship, puts himself in a position where you have to put him on that KX 450 next year? Very well could happen exactly like that. But then I think there's the other thing that comes into play, the riders who, may be off contract. Are you putting, for example, a Justin Cooper on ahead of a Kitchen, a Hammaker, if he becomes available?
I think so. I really do. Just for the sake of, if I'm using Justin Cooper for that example, I think he probably is one of the next hottest prospects in the 450 class. I really do. But that reward needs to be there, right? That needs to see that progression through the teams where, hey, I can go to Mitch Payton's team, win that championship, and end up on that, prestige Monster Energy Kawasaki. I think that needs to be there. Does it happen? Not very sure, but yeah, I don't know. I just look back to the Joey Savacci era of Monster Cowie, where they keep him, they get rid of him, they get him back, they go again. I think if I'm those riders, I'm worried about that.
Do we have any concern then about the point that Hammaker had his shoulder surgery directly following SMX? It appears he's had the time frame to get fit, to get healthy. But is there any concern?
There's always a concern. Until we see it on track, could be the same as Cole Davies with injuries he's had. Same as Joe Shimoda with injury. Like it's that unknown, right? It's you sort of work out pretty quickly the riders that have put the time in. So for Seth Hammaker, maybe that's a positive that he's probably biggest competition has also spent some time on the couch in the last several months. So I think there's always got to be some type of concern, right?
Do you think Davies is almost flowing under the radar then? Considering he was the guy last year that took it to Deegan, in a lot of ways, in a lot of races, and we know just how, naturally gifted he is at Supercross, it's almost like we almost need a reminder of what he can do in the stadiums.
Well, it's been so long since we've seen him on the track. I think that's right. You tend to fly under maybe. I don't know. Like when I lean with Seth Hammaker, that is the team green in me. That's what makes me lean towards him, honestly. But for Cole Davies, Rookie of the Year, absolutely incredible. Like you said, took it to Hayden Deegan, and the success he had in his rookie year was incredible. Do we get to see that again? Who knows? And then it's always the unknowns, your Pierce Browns, your Jalik Swalls. There is usually one rider, Alex, that catches fire and really performs straight out of the gate. So there's so much unknown, and I think that's the part of it we love, really.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking there, lost my train of thought a little bit, but Drew Adams as well, alongside Seth there at Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki. He should be coming into the season, this time at least knowing he's a full-time pro. So I'm curious to see what he can do as well.
Speaking of that, coming into a season as a pro, it's very similar way he came through from this. Do you think we see one of the rookie kids there at the Monster Energy Star Yamaha team, Dudney, Manier? Do you think we see one of those line up to go east? Is that something you think we see?
Well, yeah, I feel like that was kind of the talk through January that, it's almost a case of who. Manier and what he's been able to do through SMX, through, just different times that he's lined up there among the amateur categories, the SMX Next, he's been consistently up front. But then again, he is older than a Dudney, for example, still both young enough. That's probably the point behind it. But, yeah, do they draft them in? Difficult to say. I think it would be one of those two, if any. But on Dudney's side, I think it's a matter of also just kind of keeping in mind of not going too soon.
Yeah, it's that. It's that catch-22, right? If you had to pick between Dudney and Manier to line up east, who do you go with? Manier for the experience?
I think experience-wise, Manier probably should. I think it would do his career well to get that opportunity to, I guess considering the fact that he came from the, pro level in Australia, he has that experience on his side, as you mentioned. Sure, he would need to make the most of the opportunity if he's given that. But again, just that, I guess the head knock last time out, that kind of makes it difficult in itself. But
yeah,
I mean, will they factor? Will we see them, as another Cole Davies? Probably not. I can't see that purely because I couldn't see it coming with Cole either, not to that level.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But yeah, I mean, beyond that, I think I was thinking about this, is there going to be kind of anybody that I guess really takes that next step, somebody potentially able to put themselves firmly on the map? You would almost say Dax at the Husqvarna would be, a highly rated amateur, has some experience there at Star, hasn't performed to the level that I guess he's been capable of or probably wanted to considering, when you rewind to this point last year, he was second, at Tampa was that the opening round last year? Yeah. So
Yep.
I just have a good feeling about Daxton Bennick at Rockstar Energy Husqvarna.
What do
This year.
you feel? What do you feel his teammate Casey Cochran? Do you feel like it's just another learning step where he takes it to the next step?
We just want him. I think he's one of those riders, be it like McAdoo, like other riders that we're aware of, Swole. He just needs to get the season in.
Yep. So you think it's just a case of him, looking at those heat race wins, those things, those qualifiers, and just learning to that next stage. I get that. I agree. I think
we've seen the speed, the potential outdoors for Casey. We've seen what he can do. We all know what he can do. It's just those injuries, time after time, at such a young age, have to be taxing. So if he can avoid those, that's got to be number one on his list. Where I think Bennick, when you look back, Detroit, 24, he was on the podium. As I said, Tampa last year, on the podium, a few top fives, some real, I guess, inconsistency came into play for him as well. But I just sort of see this as a bit of a breakout year, and that's probably the guy that I'm expecting to put himself on the radar. I don't say Brown, for example, or even Jalik, because I feel like they're already there. They've already proven themselves what they can do. They've just got to bring it over the course of the whole year.
Yeah,
which could happen.
Yeah, I think Brown can definitely be that guy. He's the one I'm expecting we talk about after the first couple. He's the shock for me. I think Pierce Brown's that guy. Not necessarily the winner or anything like that, but he's the one where I feel like we notice.
It's kind of strange when, with Pierce and what he's been able to do. You think back to when he was on the gas, when he won that final round of SMX there a couple of years back. But last year, obviously, we barely saw him at all. He showed up at Tampa. He was at Ironman. Injuries just... we haven't even really seen him on the YZ properly yet. So, but I'm with you. There's no doubt that he has all of the ingredients to go on and contend in the 250 category. I think that's the reality of it.
Yeah, lots to it's the great unknown, right?
How about beyond that though? You think of Cody Schock, the Club MX guys. We've obviously seen what Max Voland and Hunter Yoda have been able to do in the Western Division. So Cody, Devin Simonson. I'm just thinking of different riders, in different teams, but the club guys are always, riders to watch. Phoenix Racing, Cullen Park, Gavin Towers, Evan Ferry was their lineup for this year. So focusing on the East. We're not expecting them to contend for the championship, but I think that will be interesting. Luke Clout, another rider who has been, obviously linked to PRMX. He's training in the US. We know that we're expecting that announcement to come any day now, if not already. But yeah, there's almost that kind of non-factory group of riders who will be wanting to kind of upset the factory riders.
I think Cody Schock can be that guy, and I think the next step that Club MX has taken, be that working with Chad, working with whoever it is, I feel like he can really benefit from that. We've seen that with Voland, sort of on the West. I think, I think Cody Schock, he'll be another one to watch, because he has had those rounds where he comes out, he gets great starts, runs up front early. If he can take that to the next level, who knows where we see him end up with that. But yeah, he's one of those guys for me for sure. Cullen Park as well. It's the great unknown.
Couple of World Supercross boys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, World Supercross, catch a fever, and then Clout as well. You know, Clout spent some time on a Cowie 250 doing some off race, some off season races over in Europe. Who knows what we get out of Luke Clout? That's
the bike, the team, the preparation. I guess the quality of American specific preparation comes into play.
He has a full season Australian Supercross under his belt, and then continued to ride Supercross. So I imagine the craft and everything like that, Alex, is pretty, in a good place for Luke at the moment. But it's a completely different ball game. That's right. Yeah,
the intensity, I think, is the big one, and yeah, that will be interesting. To cap this off, we're going to circle all the way back to the top. But can Shimoda contend for this championship? Is it unfair to even speak about that, considering the severity of his injury he's coming off?
I think it is, right? I think putting that picture, putting a figure on him at all at this point, when we think only a few weeks ago we weren't going to see him at all, then there was maybe, and then the announcement that he is. I think it's just having Joe Schmoder a part of the championship is the reward. And if he's unreal, I'm not shocked. If he struggles and is slow to start, I'm not shocked. So I can't put a yes or no on that. I really can't.
It's tough to say, because on one hand, you just know they're not going to send him out there if he's not ready.
Yeah.
But again, where you can set that expectation realistically is up to Joe Shimoda. Where it will count is he has the purple plates. Is that what we call them? Yeah.
Yep. SMX
world champion. Where it will count is down the stretch. When we get through Supercross, get into Pro Motocross, we all know the narrative there that Hayden Deegan moves on, really opens the doors in 250 MX. And then for Joe, once we get to SMX, he's going to have the number one plate at that point of the year in the postseason.
And as many points in the playoffs leading into it,
that's where it all it stacks up. So I think if anything, it's almost just a sense of relief to see, one, he's okay in a position to be back. And we'll finish on this note, Nick. The word is that Jet Lawrence isn't too far away either. So, do with that what you will.
There's another, if Hunter's in a point where he can do this, Jet Lawrence is another bike on the track.
I think that when you circle back to when Jet was first injured, it was almost like we were writing Supercross off altogether. See you at Fox Raceway. That, I guess, that whole topic is shifting, and it's almost becoming a point of when do we see him back? So whether it's round 12, as late as round 14. I'm not really sure how late you bring it, but I think we see Jet Lawrence back before this season indoors finishes.
I think we see last 3.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Last
I don't
3.
mean to alarm you. I don't mean to alarm you at all, sir, but Daytona is coming up and Eli is looking good.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Nicholas.
Thank you very much. Eastern Region 250s. I can't wait. Can't wait.
It's that.
I've had enough of Megan and Kitch. Now I want Davies and the Hammaker.
It's that mid-season refresher that I think we all look forward to, and then you begin to cast your attention toward the showdowns, towards this middle stage of the series. It's appreciate it, Nick. We will speak more leading into the weekend, but thank you, and thank you for everybody who tunes in, who listens, who watches. This has been the MX Today podcast here on MotoOnline.com. Thank you.